Welcome back to the workshop where we are super detailing a Lionel EMD NW2 locomotive from 1949. You've just seen the progression. Today we're going to put on decals and get the body shell ready for its newly refurbished chassis. You know me, my name is Doug, and we are creating Union Pacific Engine 1081. And now that you're totally up to date, let's get to work. I was not able to find any of the pre-existing decals for this particular locomotive, so we're going to have to create them ourselves. Luckily, I know how to use Adobe Illustrator, so I created these graphics. Looking up the Union Pacific typeface, I found out that Futura is the base face that just needs a little bit of tweaking. Now make sure you watch this video until the end, and I'll show you how to lay down graphics on very bumpy surfaces. Well, you've probably experienced like I have. It's been kind of difficult to find your hobby materials at your local hobby shop just because of all the transportation issues. I haven't been able to find locally my favorite decal setting product, which is called Microsol and Microset, so I'm having to make use of this Tamiya product, which I really don't care for. I don't think it works quite as well, but we'll make it work for this video. This decal should give us some confidence we can handle it. I'm also putting it over some large rivet details, so using an X-Acto blade, I make small cuts to make it fit around those. After drying, we can handle it, and putting on the 1081 signature, let's handle the big one. You'll notice on this locomotive shell, some of the places that should be debossed are embossed, so putting the graphics here and keeping out the gaps is rather problematic. One good tip is to not use your fingers for the tiny little movements. Right here I'm using a pull tie. Another great tool would be a toothpick to move those graphics just a little bit on the surface before you dry them off. I'm using this decal setting material from Tamiya several times during the process to try to melt down that decal so it fits better around those nooks and crannies. I found several photographs of Locomotive 1081 and noticed that there are several changes in the graphics over the years as the engine has been repainted. One thing I didn't see were the side markers that are on the front headlight, but I decided to put those in anyway because I figured they probably were there at one point in time. You'll notice on this side of the locomotive, putting on that Union Pacific decal is really difficult. You've got to fit the decals around those climbing irons. My best advice here is don't panic. Just continue to work slowly on the decal and then dry it off when you're happy with the positioning. You'll notice that there are two lines that go all the way around the locomotive. They're red, and the top one would be rather difficult to mask and spray. So we're going to put that on as a decal as well. As I said before, the Union Pacific typeface is based on Futura with just some slight changes. One would be the numerics. The number 1 actually is slightly different, which I had to change in Illustrator. On the decal sheet, I put several of these lines because I figured I might make a mistake or two trying to put these on, but they actually were much simpler than I thought. I did have to cut them as necessary. You can see that right above the handholds would have made this area really difficult to put masking tape in place. So this is a really good solution for that red line. If this is your first time using graphics that have been created on a decal sheet rather than the ones that have been produced by larger companies, remember you have to cut these out in advance, and I prefer to leave the letter spacing alone, so I just put them on in long strips to make sure everything fits down correctly. At this point, you'll notice that the main discontinuity between reality and this model are that the graphics are glossy and the background is flat. So we're going to go back in and we're going to try to fix that. As you remember, I said that it's very difficult to find the proper materials. I did find Tamiya flat clear, but it's in the spray can rather than the small containers that allow me to airbrush. In this case, let's go ahead and use the can. I'm using a slight dusting coat and then using broad right and left sweeps. And now that we're done sealing, look what arrives in the mail. Microset and Microsol. Oh well, next time. Now is the time to subscribe and hit that bell because next time we work on the chassis.